Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first stream game of playoffs here for CGL. This is your CGL EU Grandmaster Tier playoffs here. I'm CB. I'm here joined by Coolies. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing, CB?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty okay. I'm looking forward to seeing this matchup kick off. We got Feur versus EMC Valhalla today. Feur, who have been the top dogs in this tier, in this division, going 8-0, undefeated. The power of E-dating just carrying them to so much success, and all the way to the first seed where they got to actually pick their opponent here, and they chose EMC Valhalla.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly like you said, Feur has been on the top this entire season, 7-0, winning the first stage as well. And on the flip side of that, you have EMC Valhalla, which is not a bad team at all. They've gone 5-3 themselves, but was one of the lower seeds coming into the tournament and ended up getting picked by Feur here. So they've got a little bit of a vendetta and something to prove walking into this, that they're not the team you wanted to choose if you're Feur. So we'll get to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for Feur, I mean, it's still a pretty solid choice. Looking at some of these other options here, I don't know if we have a bracket that we can pull up. I didn't ask that before we started, but I did take a look at it before. We do! Hey, look at that! So the winner of this game is going to meet up with Experimental Ducks in the winners finals here, and the loser's going to go down and face Meta Gaming, who I think the outcome between those two squads there was kind of an upset there. And Meta Gaming, that's not exactly a squad that I would want to meet in a dark alley, especially not when my tournament playoffs hopes depend on it. They're down there lurking in that alleyway with a glass bottle ready to square up with whoever's ends up falling here. So you definitely don't want to burn your safety net right now, because that could be a landmine down there in the lower bracket that might cut your playoff hopes short there. And Experimental Ducks on the other side, they came out with that upset win over Meta Gaming, got themselves that winners final spot. So maybe they're playing on a different level we haven't actually gotten to see. So we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. But looking at this bracket, what if you had to predict what exactly our grand finals here is going to be? What's your pred here?
Just looking at this matchup right now, I think just based off the results of the season that we've actually seen so far, I think we got to lean towards Feur ending up closing out the winners bracket here and going through the finals. And then I hate to say it, but I'm going to lean with Experimental Ducks. I think that how they played against Meta Gaming in the first place in that first round is definitely a standout performance, and something that I think you want to see when you're going into the playoffs like this. And so it's just a little bit of momentum, and I think you lose to Feur. That's been happening all season for these teams, so it's not going to be the big boom people are going to think it is if they do lose in that winners bracket right there. So I'm gonna keep with Experimental Ducks.
I think I have a little bit more faith in Meta Gaming to make that lower bracket run and kind of see them in the grand finals, because they lost to Experimental Ducks, but hopefully they don't make the same mistake twice. But like you alluded to, if you're kind of taking the whole thing, these teams have been making the same mistake 8 times in a row, in fact, going up against Feur and just falling short, because they appear to just be, on paper at least, the better team. So we'll have to see if EMC Valhalla came out with anything special today, any curveballs, anything they can do to kind of thwart Feur going forward here. And when we go forward, it's going to already be ball in Feur's court, because the higher seed gets to pick the first map. We've been told that they are likely to pick Lijiang Tower as their first map, and it actually has been confirmed. Thank you. Thank you, production. Yeah, it is going to be confirmed as Lijiang Tower being our first map, and that is Feur's choice. So you have to imagine that they're coming through with some strats. They have the strat, they have the lineup, they have Away and Away's Mercy, like I alluded to, the power of E-dating.
Power of E-dating.
on Lijiang Tower, you gotta be like, maybe this duo is gonna bust out the pharmacy. Really let all the couples in the audience know what the power of love can really do for your squad here, and if it's able to carry them to an early win here.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I mean, just looking at this as well, I think this is a great matchup for Feur. I mean, looking in, they're more of a brawl style team. And I mean, we see that all the time on the EU side of the bracket anyways. And I think Lijiang is just going to be the obvious choice for them. I think where we're going to see a mix-up coming in is going to be on the side of EMC Valhalla, where, I mean, are they going to follow them in this brawl mirror? Or are they going to switch it up and try and pull out something that you wouldn't expect from them? And so I think that's really where we're going to see how this match is going to be decided, is how EMC Valhalla responds to what Feur has been excited and has done all season.
One of the things that you kind of have to look at when you're looking at some of these GM tier games is like, you know, every squad is always looking at what the people above them are doing. So this is going to be kind of like the Grandmaster tiers read on what the actual current meta is and what they're leaning to and what they're trying to go more in with. And if it is indeed that brawl style and EMC Valhalla come out and they have that same read and they're like, okay, we have to try and match this and outdo them on this composition, we're going to start to see, like, you know, who ends up being the better team on this comp. Are they able to do that? Or do they actually go with, you know, something a little bit different here? Again, starting with Lijiang Tower kind of makes me think that Feur might not go with a brawl comp, but we're likely to see something like that on Control Center and potentially on Gardens as well. Night Market might be kind of, you know, the wrench in the equation where we can see EMC Valhalla, you know, come out with something that they might be stronger on and maybe get the dub here early on. And, you know, even that's a dangerous game because it's going to be loser's map pick going forward. So the more you beat Feur, the more you're playing into their hand going forward.
Absolutely, and I mean we'll get to see that here in just a couple of seconds as we go into the lobby here soon. But I mean exactly like you said, I think it's going to be more of that brawl style when they're looking up at the AL teams, and especially with the Pro-Am going on right now. I think there might be a chance you see a little bit of Ram versus Ryan being run here, which could be really interesting to watch, as we've already seen even at that top tier level with AL and contenders, where teams have been kind of going back and forth on it, just depending on their preferences and the tempos that they're wanting to play at in the first place.
Yeah, they've been calling it like the rush versus the poor man's rush, or the budget rush over there with the Ramatra. But like, it honestly is like quite interchangeable with the Reinhardt, you know, where you can just put that Ramatra in instead of the Rhine, and you can still just play the comp essentially 1-for-1 the same way you would, and just try to get the better of the Reinhardt in that kind of neutral engagement there. And it's been kind of debated what's the easiest one, what's the hardest one, if it's a skill mashup, or if it's, you know, you're leaning too heavily on the Ramatra. But your interjection there is going to go ahead and allude to neither of these teams want to play Rush right now. Feur is going to come out here with that Pharmacy like I kind of predicted, and a ball comp going up against a Diva Sombra Tracer dive on the side of EMC Valhalla. So this is going to be kind of an interesting matchup, as we've already kind of taken some presence on and around the point here, and Feur looking for some angles, try and get some of these rockets, get some splash damage out, maybe catch somebody out in danger. But it is actually going to be Spooky that ends up falling first. It's that Wrecking Ball already paying dividends, and that might be enough to try to already get Feur some presence on the point and get them the early cap here. EMC Valhalla still has a little bit to say about it, and they're going to try and contest this one out, but losing that Diva mech is not going to be conducive to that plan whatsoever. So might be time to find a plan B, go back to spawn, and reassess your next engagement here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're still contesting the side of EMC Valhalla, but it's just not quite going to work out the way that you want to. I mean, if you're Feur, you set that fight up almost perfectly. Is if you're paying attention, you'll notice that the Fair is playing a little bit slow, kind of poking in and trying to guide the team to where they want to set up the dive on the middle of that point. And as soon as they get in position, they're ready, they all go at the exact same time, and Super rolls in as he's getting poked out by the Sombra here as well inside of EMC Valhalla. He gets caught out, just barely.
Interesting, like, I don't know if the hack was still there, but, like, yeah, Super definitely could have tried to get out there, but is actually chased down by Jizztaz there, so that's going to be an early pick for EMC Valhalla, and with that ball off of the field, that is an early engagement tool. But Marmstunt with a nice Suzu boop kill onto the opposing Kiriko. That's one way to assert dominance over your contemporaries right there. Jizztaz also going to fall, so EMC Valhalla, their meal ticket might have come and gone. Still going to linger around here, try and build up some ult charge, but I don't see the point flipping in their favor anytime soon, even if there is some sort of miracle, or, you know, hopefully not an overinvestment. Don't bust out that EMP quite yet. Save that for your next fight.
Absolutely, and just like you said, the ultimates are starting to come online here. We'll see the EMP and the Pulse Bomb on the side of Valhalla, and coming up on really all the ults on both sides, except for the Pulse Bomb on Feur, as they'll engage with mines.
That's a good hack and a heads-up play there from Jizztaz to try and take down that Kiriko, who gets hacked there from early pick off there from Marmstunt, but Away comes through with the barrage and just cleans house. Everybody is forced to take some shelter from this Diva Bomb, but there's no one really left for EMC Valhalla. The rest comes through, and Away is back in the fight. That's that E-Data relationship coming through, paying dividends. You get that second wind, and now a little bit of a cheeky stagger here onto Jizztaz.
Absolutely, and on the side of Fear, they're just setting everything up so well. Exactly like you said. I mean, this E duo really is doing a great job of just controlling space and poking and making it really uncomfortable when Valhalla's trying to set up these dives. As they still have not gotten this EMP off, and they'll look to use it on this fight to just try and set up and maybe cancel off that Karika Bolt, or really just look for a pick on somebody that's caught out.
Well, G2D actually got quite caught out. Not sure what happened with that, but no sound barrier for EMC Valhalla, and that is quite a limp EMP. Doesn't, I don't even know if that, like, how many that hit, if anybody, but that got kind of wiped out pretty fast there. That was not the engagement that you're looking for to trigger OT if you're EMC Valhalla. A lot of things went wrong there. Some spaghetti definitely dropped, and maybe that's what G2D slipped on, and that's what caused him to fall off the edge of the map there. So, you know, Gardens, if you're coming out against the Pharmacy, you kind of expect Gardens to go in favor of that comp, and Feur should not be able to play that as effectively on Control Center. So now, yeah, we're seeing EMC Valhalla. They're predicting something a little bit more brawly here.
Yeah, and sticking with that Sombra, just trying to bully Super out of playing ball, hopefully at some point after he did catch him out once or twice, but we'll get to see if that's as effective, and it's the brawl versus the ball here, as they're going to meet him in this white room and just look to really control the space.
This is a Mercy pocketed Genji. We're really going all in with this these Eater tropes here. We got, you know, Mercy's Angel and Genji's piece in real time going on here, but it's actually Iaku getting that early pickoff onto G2D, so the Lucio already out of play. G2D not having the best day so far here on Lijiang. Still a lot of time to turn it around, and hopefully they're able to before this point does go in favor early of Feur here, but it's looking like it's going to be a pretty sure thing. As EMC Valhalla, they're kind of being bullied into this corner here. They can't really get much in the way of point presence. Point presence does go to Feur. They get the control percentage ticking up already, and they're still, you know, just being a pest from like 16 different angles here, really trying to make Spooky, you know, pick a battle and stick with it, but he's unable to because there's so much things going on. He can't really focus on any one thing. Fox is able to, or sorry, Fox gets picked off by Iaku again. It's this Sojourn finding early pickoffs here, and Jizztaz gets finished off as well. So Feur, I think they've done enough to hold strong here. And EMC Valhalla, again, they have to reassess.
Absolutely, and if you're EMC Valhalla, I think you have to swap off the Sombra, as crazy as that sounds, and look for a different solution to this ball, as well as I think they really need to do a better job of trying to close off these off angles, and whether that's maybe swapping to a Mei and using a wall to do that, you know, cutting off the ankle completely. But I mean, they've let Feur build up all of these ults for 50% here, and we're gonna have Blade, we're gonna have Sojourn ult, and Mercy, and then Mind and Curie ult are on the way here.
Well, here comes that Dragon Blade from away, but the Immortality Field is good, but once it falls, that's going to be a lot of damage for away, but a Shatter to help shut him down, and yeah, that's a good way to counter it, but hey, you forgot about Away's Mercy, who comes through with the res, and Away going to go ahead and take your Baptiste out for your troubles, just as a little bit of payback, and take out Jizztaz, so that's a little bit of a clap back there from Away, saying, yeah, you deal with one of us, you got to deal with both of us, or I'm just going to come right back and haunt you.
Absolutely, I mean, this E duo is absolutely terrifying. As Away and Away's Mercy have been getting away with murder a few of these fights, even with the Sombra out there and the hack available, just coming in for a res and Away being able to clean up after that.
Hack comes out onto Away, and the pressure is there, but it's really only KGF that's going for the pressure here. You know, you see Jizztaz walking forward, swinging the hammer, but can't close the distance effectively. And again, Iaku finds a pickoff onto G2D. I don't know if this Lucio has built up to a sound barrier yet, and might not even get a chance to use one, because Iaku has had his number this entire time. Away gonna go ahead and take down Fox, and no one is able to touch. The Kitsune Rush and the boops from the Wrecking Ball are too much pressure for EMC Valhalla to even touch the point. That is two swift 100-0s.
Absolutely, and I mean, if you're looking at this map, it seems like EMC Valhalla, they just kept getting picked off before the fight started every single time, and on Control Center there, it was the Lucio of G2D a decent bit, but I mean, it's just the work that Away was able to do on the Pharah and the Genji, and the displacement from the ball that set up all those early pickoffs, and just the ability to really control the space like we've talked about so much, and then just set up the dive from there and pincer the Lucio or pincer the backline and just catch somebody out of place.
And you also highlighted the Sombra pick and said that you kind of would have liked to see them switch off of that, and I kind of agree with that as well, because when you look at, you know, these compositions and you don't, without actually watching the gameplay, you kind of think to yourself like, okay, the Sombra is there to hack the Wrecking Ball and kind of grief that tank, and help us win the tank neutral, but that's not what they were really trying to do. Like, most of the hacks were coming out onto a Wei, or they were trying to come out onto a Yaku. You know, they're trying to find a pick off onto a DPS with this Sombra pick, and it just wasn't happening. The support wasn't there. And if you're not going to invest the Sombra into dealing with the Wrecking Ball, then the Wrecking Ball just gets away with whatever it is that he wants to do. No one can really check him. Nobody can really look at him. And chaos ensues, and that's why we have a fight happening in, like, 3 different hemispheres, you know, 6 different zip codes, and you know, if you're Spooky, again, like, what are you supposed to do? You know, you're trying to look for someone to plink away with at the Cassidy, but everything's so segmented and split up that you can't really just, like, isolate a target and focus one down before you've lost your backliner. So, you know, they do kind of need to make some compositional swaps here and find something else that helps them play a little bit more together, a little bit more cohesively, where they can, you know, protect their Lucio a little bit more, keep G2D alive, let them build up to a sound barrier. And if you want to be a little bit more cohesive and conducive, you want to play something maybe more, I don't know, rush-oriented, where else do you go but King's Row?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the King's Row pick is exactly what you expect out of the EMC Valhalla. Is they ran the Ryan on those last 2 points, and that's kind of, it looks like that's what their comfort pick is, and that's in their wheelhouse. And so we'll get to really see if Feur is able to force the ball onto King's Row here as well, as that first point is actually a pretty good point for ball. And so that could be a good place for them to get kind of an early lead in the map. Or it could be where EMC Valhalla finally takes that stand, and maybe they make that compositional swap to a Cass May or even a Cassidy Hanzo. Just depending on what they're comfortable with. And so I think that could really turn around the series for EMC Valhalla, just depending on what they're looking to do and how they respond to the pressure that Feur's been able to put out from the displacement of that ball and the E-Duo really finding ways to make an impact.
Yeah, I think, like, you know, switching to something like a Mei or a Hanzo would definitely be very conducive for EMC Valhalla, would help keep them a little bit more organized. But something that's also kind of interesting is, you know, this school of thought where it's like King's Row equals Rush is also kind of flawed, and we've seen that in the Pro-Am, and we've seen that in some of these, like, contenders matches where a lot of people are actually playing, like, dive with, like, Anakita Winston on King's Row. And Feur, I mean, if they're that much stronger than EMC Valhalla, like, they definitely feel like they are, especially after that Lijiang Tower performance, you could really see them go in, like, 16 different directions with the comp that they want to pick. So, you know, if I'm EMC Valhalla and I'm going for this pick, I'm definitely expecting to see that Reinhardt come out. But if I'm Feur, you know, what am I going to come out with? Is it going to be Wrecking Ball? It might be.
It's going to be the ball, and it's interesting. They're running the Ashe Genji this time. Usually you see the Ashe Tracer, but I think, like you said, the cliche sticks true with this duo where we have the Genji and the Mercy all the time. But if you look on the side of EMC Valhalla, I'm just going to assume these are troll picks, actually. I don't see them running out with a Baptiste and a Winston. There we go.
Yeah, that's a little bit more like it. Yeah, Spooky probably gonna go for a shot on the Widow and then swap over to something like that Mei, most likely, or maybe
a Cassidy. Oh, they're back on the Sombra. Okay.
I never trust the attacker spawns, but I at least thought I could put enough stock in, like, that early window shot from the Widowmaker coming out before the swap, but subverting my expectations and actually making the swap to the Cassidy before even going for that.
One of them's hiding in the corner.
And we're still on the corner. Yeah, and they don't... Away gonna go ahead and clean up G2D there with that that dash, and a dynamite from Yaku is actually gonna clean up Spooky. So, you know, your DPS line has already essentially completely faltered, as has your tank, and that's a pretty fast fight win there for Feur.
Absolutely. I mean, it was that flank setup from away on the Genji. Just, I don't know if anybody else saw it, but just sitting tightly on that little corner and able to get a quick pick off on the back line of Valhalla as they tried to walk in and really just made the fight impossible. It's now they'll swap over to the Diva to try and deal with this Ashe and this Genji and help the back line a little bit.
Slurp that dynamite right up there. Just has very well done. Gonna stop some of that damage coming in, but you're not gonna stop away from coming in with the dash to follow up on that big pile driver there from Super. And Fox League already gonna fall again, so you're losing your support line over and over again on these Ingresses, and Away is just there to pick up all of the scraps, like the bones of like a vulture just picking the bones of a deceased animal out in the desert.
No, absolutely. I mean, Away has been an absolute animal here with this Genji pick, getting at least 2 to 3 picks every single fight. And I mean, as we see the Sombra once again trying to catch him out.
There's another big slam though from Super again, and the minefield gonna come out. Early minefield like locking down that entire choke, and that's splitting EMC Valhalla up. Half of them have to go through Hotel, and the D.Va has to go for rotation all the way around the statue. But in that confusion, they do take down Iaku, but the Valkyrie comes out from Away's Mercy. We'll see if Away's Mercy is willing to, you know, donate that res over to another teammate, or if that's strictly Away's to play with. But he's playing with that damage-boosted Dragon Blade, takes down 2, and that should be the fight essentially for Feur yet again. And Spooky doesn't have a whole lot left to say about it either.
Absolutely. I mean, it looked like it was going to turn Valhalla's way that fight, but the ultimates of Feur come out with the Kiri and the Mercy as well as the Blade, and it just turns the fight around as Valhalla is coming in with this EMPs, and it looks like KGF is going to set it up for this backline, or maybe even the Ash pick and the duo right here.
That might have been the ticket, though. That EMP hitting onto Away's Mercy. That is probably going to be the best chance that EMC Valhalla have at this, and they are finding more follow-up. KGF with that 1v1 duel there onto Marv's stunt, and I think enough damage has been done. They should be able to start taking some presence on the point. It's just that lonely Wrecking Ball rolling around. There will likely be a contest. There's definitely going to be a touch here, but you've already gotten some progress, which is more than you can say. 2 ticks, that's nothing to shake at. So we're going to go ahead and come back in, get rolled through here. Does get hacked. Sound barrier going to come out. Mines in response, locking away that entire point. But Fox going to find an early pickup onto Iaku. Can they shut down the res? Will the res come out? Pulse Bomb should be enough to Corpse Guard and knock Away's Mercy away from that that body there. And the percentage going to continue to threaten to tick up. But that Minefield does claim Spooky. And Away going to find G2D. I don't know how that headshot came through onto the Lucio there, or how Feur are still alive in this fight, but they do. They stopped the tick up at 92.5%, and EMC Valhalla, they are only going to have like one more shot at this.
I mean, they just don't have enough damage to follow up on some of these kills, as we saw right there. As Away's Mercy got really, really low multiple different times. They just need that extra bit here, as Away's going to come in with the Blade and look to finish him off.
Yeah, that Valk Blade combo might as well be like a new age version of the Nano Blade. But again, it's actually G2G falling elsewhere to Iaku. That Lucio is just having so much trouble staying alive. And I don't know if it's that EMC Valhalla are playing too split, or if G2D is going for plays that he probably just shouldn't be. But either way, it's getting punished. And it's flawless play from Feur, finding the weak spots, isolating them, and putting on the pressure. This EMP has to be enough pressure for EMC Valhalla to clap back. Yaku does fall, but you've already lost 2. Just has to be huge with this self-destruct. It doesn't find anything, but does do a little bit of zoning here. Kitsune Rush going to go ahead and come out from Fox League, but another minefield from Super is out, and again, that point is a literal minefield that they have to weather in order to try and continue this overtime push, and they're running out of time, and they're running out of bodies. Away is still dashing and cleaving through. A Pulse Bomb comes out from Iaku, and that's going to get Jiztaz so low, he has to back off, and there is no one else left to keep that contest going when the backline falls, and Jiztaz gets back just a little too late, and Feur damn near full hold.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that if you look on the side of EMC Valhalla, their Lucio's just getting his position is being taken advantage of almost every single fight, whether it's from a displacement from the ball or even just Away being able to hit a dash and G2D panicking. But the Lucio just getting picked off early and often on the side of Valhalla, and it almost makes you wonder if they need to swap over to something besides the Lucio. I mean, when they swap over to that D.Va, maybe they should go Kiriko Ana. I mean, even a Kiriko Brig or an Ana Brig or something like that, just to get them a little bit more stability in the backline, and also something that can boop that ball away a little bit and create the distance that your backline is going to need, whether they're on that Kiriko or they are on that Ana. Because when you have that Genji and the Ashe Dynamite in and the ball slamming on top of you every single fight, just as you're about to rotate, it's almost impossible to play any hero, really. And I mean, Lucio, if you're the one that's getting booped around, it's time to make a swap to something that can stop the stuns from coming in.
Yeah, if you want to keep playing this Lucio as a team and benefiting from the speed boost, then you have to, you know, play a comp that can more effectively peel for your Lucio. And I think that might be what Jiztaz was thinking, swapping off of the Reinhardt and over onto the D.Va. But this might be a mistake currently, because if you look what they're walking into, potentially a TP Bastion spot here is, yeah, looking that forehead looking like prime real estate for Away right now. That's a mercy-pocketed Bastion on the highest of high grounds. And G2G, where are you, my son? What are you doing there? You cannot face this threat down on your own. It is not up to just one man. and that is going to be Feur taking an early point presence here, and EMC Valhalla are in shambles. They're all over the place. They do take down Away's Mercy, though. That can be absolutely huge. They lose KGF, though, and, I mean, they're finding enough to keep this one interesting at least, but Feur, they don't look to be sweating. You got Away in this position way up on high ground. G2D, you know, trying to contest, but at threat of falling again if Away can hit the shots. If Away can hit the shots. If Away hits the shots, there we go. Now G2D falls, but Away is under a lot of pressure now. Away's Mercy now back to try and help. We're at 2 ticks. Someone else has to come in to touch. Is there going to be any contest here? Foxley goes in for the contest, gets clapped for it. KGF can't get back in time, and Feur do cap quite swiftly. And they're looking really strong here. Match point for them. One more map to go. EMC Valhalla, what do you do?
I mean, if you're EMC Valhalla, I know the Sombra won you a fight, but I think you have to make a swap here and look for something different. I mean, as even with this play of the game here from KGF, I think that on the re-engage, you see the weakness of the Sombra and their inability to get a pick off and keep moving forward and really control and zone the space that they need to zone in order to prevent the Genji from getting value or to prevent the ball from getting set up. And on the side of Lucio for G2D, I mean, I think they just need to make a few subtle changes, and I think it's going to be a lot easier for G2D because it looks like I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here because I'm going to say that last fight was a bad example of how he's been playing, where he pulls up in front of the wheeling Bastion right there. But I mean, I think he's just getting displaced a lot, and he just needs a little bit more help and the rest of his team to look at him for half a second.
Regardless of whether it is on him to make the swap or his team to make the swap, the composition that they're playing right now is heavily exploitable, and Feur are taking full advantage of it. So much so that they're even kind of forcing EMC Valhalla to make these ill-advised swaps. And then they just come out, you know, with Junker Queen, TP Bastion, and, you know, roll right up and just take what's theirs at that point, you know? And kind of like, it might look like trolling, but it's also kind of like a 5-head strat, because it's like, okay, yeah, you're like trying so hard to counter this composition right now that we're not even going to play that. We're just going to play, like, whatever we want, and you're not going to be ready for it. Like,
yeah, it's the Chengdu effect.
Yeah, essentially just, like, drag them kicking and screaming into the Chengdu zone there, and, you know, hopefully, speaking of which, Chengdu Hunters, please say something. We miss you. We, like, come back.
Please. Where did you go?
You just triggered, like, yeah, a sad memory for me, but more sad memories sure to be triggered, as Havana is going to be our next map pick. Not always a popular one amongst the crowd, but, you know, EMC Valhalla, they have to be cooking something here.
Absolutely. It's going to be, I think, if you're EMC Valhalla, just looking at what they've ran so far, they're going to go for the spawn camp. It's going to be that setup instantly. I mean, I know my own teams run it 90% of the time. I know even Al teams still run it all the time. I think the spawn camp is just, it's really strong on the side of the defense if you know what you're doing, if you have as much practice. And hopefully EMC Valhalla, they've had practice going to Havana and just perfecting this spawn camp right here at the attacker spawn.
Yeah, there's really no reason not to do it, honestly, because if you're trying to wait for a fight at, like, the corner, like, where the cart would, like, push up there, that's where it'll pretty much be if you execute the spawn camp effectively and you just bleed time off the clock, and you still get potentially 2, you know, at least 1, but potentially 2 more fights before, you know, that point A completion. There's really no reason not to do it. So I agree. I do expect that to be what they come out with, but I don't know what their plan B is going to be if that fails, because, again, we know that Feur kind of has they has them downloaded. They know how to exploit that composition. So once you've bled like a minute, maybe 2 minutes if we're being really generous off the clock, and that Rhine comp ends up falling flat, then what? You know, are you going to swap to, like, a Sigma and play, you know, like a Bap Zen backline? And if so, like, how are you going to deal with, like, this Genji Mercy or Pharah Mercy or whatever it is that they decide to come out with on the side of Feur? A lot of interesting moving parts at play here. I expect to see the spawn camp come out, but, like, what do you think their plan B is? Because they need to have one on a map like Havana.
I'm going to lean on the side of a more traditional tank player is what they have going on. So if they're not playing the Reinhardt, I bet they lean towards probably a Winston or an Orisa is what my best guess would be. And I think Orisa is definitely viable here on this point, or on Havana, and so is the Monkey as well. It is a little bit more difficult than the ball that Feur has been running out on. But if you're EMC Valhalla, I think if you can lean on and kind of take advantage of and try and use that bubble to maybe separate and create differences between your backline and their backline and cut off a couple of those sidelines, that can definitely be very, very effective. I mean, we saw Kalush do it on the Shock with this more reactive Winston style, which is bubble our backline, punish their tank. And so I think if they can pull that off, there's a decent chance, and they have the ability, just skill-wise, and I mean, they're all GM players, to potentially pull off an upset here on this map.
Yeah, well, it is time to put up or shut up, because you are staring down the barrel of heading on back down to that loser's bracket, where again, Meta Gaming, another one of the powerhouses in this tier, is waiting in the wings, just ready to start their lower bracket run at the expense of whoever falls here. And it might be EMC Valhalla, and you at least need to show, if you're going to go down, that you can go down swinging. You don't want to be looking like easy prey to a squad like that. So they're going to roll out here with, again, they're on the attacker side, so I don't trust that they're going to roll out with a Doomfist, but Feur is going to roll out here quite literally on the Wrecking Ball, going to go for an interesting flavor of spawn hold here.
This is interesting. I saw this on TikTok, where if you're a Wrecking Ball, you can contest on the point from right here. And so if they don't notice you, you just sit there for hours, but it doesn't quite look like they're going for that here. So they will start to put the pressure out.
They might not notice him there for a while, because you do have to constantly be looking up. What's this pharmacy up to? Because, you know, you have Away and Away's Mercy up in the sky directly above your spawn, constantly putting in the pressure, and you can't really push too far forward until you've dealt with that. So, you know, this Wrecking Ball is going to be happy to contest for just about forever. I think they did actually slip up a little bit and, you know, give up a little bit of cart progress. So 9.27 meters for EMC Valhalla. They're already just trucking right along so quickly. Ooh, boy. Slow down. There's a speed limit to be enforced here. Yaku gonna go ahead and help enforce that one and take down Spooky and send Feur back to spawn just a little bit there. But that cart progress is going to be pretty significant, because it means they can't really go for that cheeky play on gas station anymore. They have to play it just a little bit further back, and that might give them room to take Away out of the sky.
So Hyaku's been doing some absolute work on the Tracer here, as he's only a few percentage points away from the Pulse Bomb. And I mean, the same thing here with the Kariko as well. We'll get to see what they're able to do in this upcoming fight, because they will have the ability to kind of stuff EMC Valhalla when they walk out of the spawn with either a Pulse Bomb or even just a Kariko ult straight at the spawn doors.
Spooky makes a swap over onto the Ashe. I'm curious to see how that ends up working out. The idea is obviously to try and take out this Pharmacy combo here, but while the Pharmacy's not looking, you can maybe get an early pickoff onto one of the other defenders, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult when you keep losing your own backliners and your own mech for that matter, as Fox Liga does fall, as does Jizztaz as well. You do finally find the pickoff onto Away, but the res happening right in front of you, I'm not sure if Away's, no, yeah, Away's Mercy does actually get away with it, quite literally.
No, absolutely. I mean, Valhalla just hasn't been punishing Feur for these reses at all, and they've really allowed the E-Duo to have a major impact here. So they go in aggressively with that barrage, and oh my.
E-Data supremacy. Painful. When your Pharmacy just goes in with a barrage and takes down the Ashe in the pocketed Mercy, Marvstunt does fall as a result of that self-destruct though, so Jizztaz might have found themselves an opening. They've opened the door, they gotta kick it down and let everybody fall right through it, and maybe start getting a little bit more cart progress, but they've lost G2D and Spooky. Again, this duo on the side of EMC Valhalla can't buy themselves an inch to breathe, and Yaku is just snuffing every breath out of everything that is still breathing on EMC Valhalla. They already bled nearly 3 minutes off of the clock here.
Absolutely, and I think on the side of Feur, you're happy even if you lose a fight here, as it looks like KGF is going to set up for an EMP onto the Pharmacy right here, and yep, there it is. They're going to walk out, they're going to get the pick on that, and should be close to a team fight limb.
It should be, but they've lost Spooky as well, and I'm not sure if it's even wise to go for a res that close to spawn, and Feur, they're going to go ahead and invest the mines, they're going to go ahead and continue to be aggressive and bleed more time, and force EMC Valhalla to try and take this fight before they can actually start progressing the cart. And again, we're under a minute. There's still plenty of time for Feur to get one, potentially two fights before the cart finally caps. The cart does again get moving, but Marvstunt gonna go ahead and invest that Kitsune rush. Away does fall, gets pressured down by Jizztaz, and KGF looking to try and clean up that Mercy before the res comes through, but gets actually pressured away, and Jizztaz has to be there to try and pick that one up and continue that fight, not let this Mercy get away with it. Has to invest a self-destruct just to avoid the D-Mech, and actually takes down Super. Things are starting to snowball out of control for Feur, and EMC might have found what they need.
Absolutely, as we see Fox Liga actually come up with a couple picks there at the end as the Ana's getting involved, as I think Fox Liga's definitely looked a little bit better on the Ana pick and a little bit more comfortable in the Kariko that we saw earlier as they start to build a little bit momentum here coming into what is potentially the last fight on this point, with Feur having multiple ultimates on the way and the mines to zone off the point.
Away got anti-nated there. That's a great play from Fox Liga, but Spooky gonna fall from a kunai shot from Marv Stunt. That's a great headshot, and Marv Stunt's not done. Gonna take down Fox Liga as well. The mines are on cart, and Overtime Wick is burning. Away's Mercy again finds the res, and while everyone's trying to negate that, they can't touch the cart. It's covered with explosive ordnance, and that's where the cart's gotta stop. EMC Valhalla's entire upper bracket run is now resting at 82.84 meters away from spawn.
Absolutely. If you're EMC Valhalla, you're holding your breath here, and you're hoping the spawn camp actually works out the way that you want it to. I mean, best case scenario, they do the exact same thing Feur did there. Feur breaks it with 1.5 minutes left, and they're forced to push an OT for at least half of the first point. And if you're EMC Valhalla, that's what your hope is, because at that point, if you're Feur, you're just kind of hoping and praying you hit an ultimate or hit a nice headshot, which is exactly what EMC Valhalla was able to do for a little bit there, but they end up C90ing off the point, trying to trace down the E duo, which has had such a massive impact on this game.
Also, probably something I should have brought up earlier on when we first started this series. Let me give you a quick pop quiz. Do you know how many maps, not matches, maps, this entire season that Feur has lost?
I think it was 3, wasn't it?
What I saw on the team sheet was 2.
2?
Yeah, 2. In order to lose this whole match here, they would have to drop 3 maps. So EMC Valhalla, just to show how much of an uphill battle this would have been, they kind of have to do more than every other team in this tier combined has been able to do to Feur. So this is just kind of where we are. About to go for another quick 3-0. Not going to drop a single map here unless EMC Valhalla can really keep the pressure on here, but they're not going for that spawn hold that you alluded to. They're not pushed far up with that Rhine comp. They're not playing, a Mei or even that Sombra anymore. They actually swapped over to the Widow and is able to get the better of Yaku and takes down Away's Mercy, so that res off the field. This is a good start, but it may be having to do with a disconnect on the side of Feur, because that is going to be a quick little pause for us while we try and get that sorted out there.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we're already seeing Valhalla look significantly better on this comp they're running out here with the double sniper composition. Maybe this is what they really wanted on Havana. Maybe they knew that they weren't going to do great on the attack, but on the defense, they had the potential to set up their DPS and really hit a couple of important headshots. And especially when you're running double hit scan into a pharmacy, it's going to be pretty impactful. It's going to make a much larger difference than your DPS really have been having for the majority of this game so far.
Yeah, and on the defensive side, you do actually have kind of the space to play that, double hit scan or that long range sniper comp. Like, you saw how hard it was for Spooky to get an angle at all when you have the Pharah directly overhead, over that roof over your spawn door, where you're constantly, playing like Ring Around the Rosie with her, and then she just comes in with a barrage and just deletes you and your Mercy off the face of the planet. That's going to be a lot harder for Away to do when, there's all this open space, there's all this free real estate. Will you even be able to stick on the pharmacy combo here? And I actually don't think that's going to be a factor. I think that they're going to completely negate that possibility. We might see, Away start to gravitate more towards that Genji, or might, try and play something else. I think Feur might have a little bit more diversity for this to really be like a hard stop to them, but they've made a pretty good start already.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think that Valhalla has, and if they can really just clutch up and give their DPS the resources they need to win their ones against Feur's DPS. I mean, we've seen Away put an absolute masterpiece together, at least so far in this match, coming with a couple of pretty big Genji blades, multiple 2-3 kills. Every single fight he's coming away with something more or less, and so maybe the DPS just needed a few more resources, and that's a secret that we didn't actually get to see, that maybe the Sombra just needed one person to look their way for half a second, and they get a couple picks that fight. I mean, and so maybe this is that difference.
It's also kind of like, you know, you mentioned resources, by the way, and I do kind of also want to bring this up. We do have like the pocket duo, like we're talking about Away and Away's Mercy,
Mhm.
where, you know, you're obviously dedicating half of your backline just to enabling Away. But the thing is, you know, you also have Yaku, who doesn't really need these resources and is able to just pop off without, like, on Lijiang, we're seeing Yaku hit all these, you know, big pickoffs with the Sojourn, usually with the Sojourn, but also with the Tracer now here on Havana, you know, being just kind of this lone wolf, this free agent just
Mhm.
doing whatever he wants to whoever he wants and doesn't need a mercy, doesn't need the healing and doesn't need the resources. And that's really scary if you're, you know, a team like EMC Valhalla, where it's like, all right, you know, it's definitely more value for us if we can shut down Away, but it's a taller task because he's got all of this. And while we're all looking at that, Iaku's just ripping our backline to shreds. We could also try and just focus on shutting down this one, you know, free range Tracer just doing whatever he wants right now. But then we have this Mercy pocketed Genji just, you know, coming through with a blade and ripping everyone up to shreds. Just like, you know, kind of like a Sophie's Choice here. What do you do?
Absolutely. I mean, it is Feur just doing a really, really good job of controlling the spaces that they need to and not allowing EMC Valhalla to shut off an off angle from the Tracer or shut off the Farah when she starts to peek over the rooftop right there. And so I think that if you are EMC Valhalla, just creating these long sight lines with the Widow and the Ashe gives you the ability to do that, and it makes it much, much harder for the Pharmacy to set up for a dive, right? The Tracer with only horizontal mobility, no vertical mobility at all. I mean, even the Wrecking Ball to a certain extent, because no matter where you look at, you see the Wrecking Ball coming in, as it looks like we're about to go back into a 4v5.
Oh, and
So
it was unfortunately Away's Mercy that was the one who disconnected. That's gonna be huge, I think, actually, because now Away is you know, having to try and keep up with Yaku here, having to also be a Lone Ranger. You only have Marv Stunt to try and heal everyone up. That's gonna be a huge vulnerability that EMC Valhalla can try and exploit here, and I think they've identified that going in here on this I'm sorry, wait, what? Oh, sorry, Super gonna go ahead and find the pickup onto Spooky, and Marv gonna clean up KFG. I guess Marv wasn't nearly as vulnerable as I was making him out to be, and that might actually be Feur winning this out 4v5 here, as the cart is rolling.
potentially, as Super will come in and look to clean up that Mercy and clean up the Diva kill here as well. And I mean, Feur just keeps going. We were talking about how EMC Valhalla looked like they were putting up more of a fight, but I mean, Away swaps over to this Tracer and instantly starts popping off and getting a ton of value, proving he doesn't need that. He doesn't need Away's Mercy as much as we might have thought he did.
EMC Valhalla definitely could use a Guardian Angel of their own right now, because that cart is almost at that golden box of victory with 2 minutes and 16 seconds still in the bank. Spooky gonna take out Marv Stunt. That's absolutely massive, and that might be enough for them to stabilize here, because that's going to put them at an advantage. Even though they do lose Spooky on the exit there, Yaku is going to fall, not able to teleport to safety here, and Feur, they're building up this big ult bank, but 4 is the magic number because they cannot go higher than that. If EMC Valhalla can stabilize here, they might have just found, you know, a blessing from the heavens.
This might be the break that EMC Valhalla needs to take the win and upset Feur. As I mean, we'll see if you're trying to set up a dive here onto KGF and it gets booped away, as Marston will come up with a pick, and here we go.
And Supersoft's gonna go ahead and roll through and take down G2D there on the Brigitte there, and now Feur can just go ahead and invest these ultimates to close it out and shut it down. The EMP comes out, the Kitsune Rush comes out as well. A Bob on the point from KGF to try and stabilize, and just as swallows up that Pulse Bomb wholesale, but the Mines on point is too much for him to go in on. Spooky finds that Pulse Bomb onto Marv Stunt, has to be the lone wolf here. G2D is back to try and help keep things going. Kitsune Rush from Fox League are going to go ahead and come out. They have to deal with this Wrecking Ball. They have to get this big tanky health bar off the field, and they do just enough to pressure him back and actually do clean it up. 60 seconds to go, and EMC Valhalla are hanging on by a thread.
And if you are Feur, you are frustrated. As I mean, there were multiple times where it looked like you were going to come out on top in a 4v5, and Valhalla... I'm just going to ignore that. As Valhalla continues to get lucky here, and they catch out Spooky. Yes. Force him out of the height.
Yeah, Spooky gets hacked, and the ball was there to try and put the pressure on a little bit more. The recall comes out, and Spooky is forced to try and tuck tail between his legs and run away, avoid getting hacked again. I think Hyaku really, really wants this Tracer, but will settle for KGF on the Soldier as well. But a big slam from Jiztaz gonna throw things into disarray for Feur. They don't really have any ults to speak of, but they do just enough to take down KGF. But Marv Stunt gets hit with a kunai from Foxliga, and again, Feur, they're losing bodies, they're dwindling in numbers, and even more so without that Mercy on the field to resurrect anybody. It's getting really, really dicey here. You still have Super on the point, but they need to find more. He and Hyaku have to be the ones to try and make a big play here, but Super doesn't have enough HP to buy that play, and Marvstunt gonna fall yet again, so no heals to be found. Hyaku with a desperation EMP, but falls just a little bit too short before it's able to find any pay dirt. Away is on the point, trying to stagger it out a little bit longer, but it looks like their time is up, and EMC Valhalla, a gift from the gods, a disconnect for Away's Mercy was all it took for them to find their first map win. Hopefully they're able to keep this momentum going, but that's not a great look if that's what you need in order to get that map win.
No, absolutely not. I mean, even then, Feur almost came out with a win here, as Marsta hitting a couple of really just nice shots here on the Kariko. We'll get to see in this play of the game, but I mean, if you're Feur, this is the one thing that could take you down, was a full sale DC. And I mean, just because of that, EMC Valhalla has won half as many maps as the rest of the league has this season against Feur.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, like, now we're kind of at a place here too. Like you said, yeah, where they've done half as much. They still have to do, you know, they have to do that 2 more times. If Away's Mercy is able to get back and they are able to keep going, then you know, back at a full strength. Pissed off Feur, by the way, and it's going to be their map pick going forward here. So, you know, that could be the catalyst to a reverse sweep. But Feur, they have time on their side. They have the map picks as long as they keep dropping maps here. They still have, you know, that 1 more map buffer where they can kind of, you know, goof things up a little bit more and go for something cheesy, go for something that might catch EMC Valhalla off guard. If they're able to win this map, or this matchup, in a 4v5 situation, just give them the trophy, honestly. Like, yeah. Like, if you're every other team,
no,
like, don't even show up. Like,
no, I mean, they already just almost beat them right there against the DPS duo that was looking good when they still had the Mercy pocket there. And so, I mean, if you're the rest of the league and you're looking at Feur right now, and you're kind of just terrified, like you're shivering in your jimmies, and so, well, it's definitely interesting to see if they can get Away's Mercy back in the lobby, or if Valhalla is taking catching a lucky break this time.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, you know, Meta Gaming, that kind of like, you know, scrappy, you know, person waiting for you in a dark alleyway with a glass bottle ready to square up. Yeah. Maybe they're thinking like, maybe we put this, like, I don't think we put this bottle away. I don't think we want to take this fight, because if we end up going up against a full strength Feur, then okay, suddenly we're in trouble, and our playoff run might come to an early screeching halt here. So it's, you know, it all kind of hinges right now on whether or not Away's Mercy is able to get back into the fold, and if you're able to capitalize, or, you know, if they do manage to come up with, like, you know, going from being upset to, like, pulling off the upset of the century and just go rolling on through in a 4v5. But it sounds like Away's Mercy is back. So, again, Feur, they're at full strength, they're pissed, and it's their map pick.
I'm absolutely terrified. We're going to push now. So what, if they want to keep running the Wrecking Ball, they have 2 great choices in Queen Street or Esperanza. And I mean, I mean, Coliseo as well is not a bad ball map. And so I think we just heard it's going to be Esperanza. So it looks like the ball is going to be the common theme. They're going to come right back out on it.
Yeah, that's an interesting pick. I think it might just be because that is kind of like, you know, the consensus favorite amongst the push maps. They all kind of favor similar styles where you can go with like a ball comp or you can go with a rush. It's pretty open as far as what you can go with. And I think if you're EMC Valhalla, you might fall back into that like trap where it's like, okay, well, this feels like a rush map to us, but we also can't play rush. So we might have to go with this like diva nonsense that we've been doing that hasn't really worked out all that well. So, you know, they're kind of like, it's kind of on them now to try and crack this puzzle. Like, what do they do? What do they roll out with?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm personally a big fan of the Winston. I think on Esperanza, and really just more generally as well. I know we haven't seen it a ridiculous amount, but I think that bubble can provide a lot of value. I mean, especially at this level where if you find the ability to separate somebody, your DPS are going to have the mechanics to be able to get a pick off of that. I mean, bubble is just one tool that you don't really have on the Diva that they've had, or even the Reinhardt as well. As it's really hard to create that separation and isolate a target that you can then dive and get that pick off of. I mean, on the Wrecking Ball on the other side for Feur, we've seen multiple times Super has set up a pick for away, or he set it up for Hyaku to come away with a pretty easy 1v1 win.
Yeah, for as good as Jiztaz has been on the Diva, and he has been pretty good getting some clutch eats on the pulse bombs and shutting down some of the other DPS plays that Feur is trying to go for, it hasn't really been enough because we also alluded to that, you know, if you're looking at one, the other's going to pop off here. If you're looking too much at Iyaku trying to, you know, anticipate that pulse bomb, Away has already killed like 3 people, and you've already lost the fight based on that. So it's like, it's a tall ask for Jiztaz no matter what it is going to be, and no matter what he comes out playing. The Diva it's not working, but it's also not working. So
Yeah.
They need to find something that works to the same degree, but better, and roll out with that, and try and like shut this down, go for more peel, keep G2D alive, please. The poor man is like begging, starving for just a scrap of HP, a scrap of peel, please.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, if you're G2D, you're screaming in the back line, asking for help for something. You're looking at their support like just one shot, please. I'm begging you. And I mean, it's rough. It really is. Just like you said. I mean, both the DPS have been playing ridiculously well so far in this game. As I mean, Away has been doing great on any hero we've seen him on, and Hyaku coming away with a really couple big plays on the Ashe and the Tracer as well. I mean, even his Sombra right there at the end of Vanna didn't look too awful, as he had a pretty good EMP setup that got almost won them the map even in that 4v5. And so I think it is pretty terrifying for EMC Valhalla to come into a map like Esperanza where there really isn't too much of a meta, exactly like you said, CB. It's more of just what style do you prefer and how are you going to play that style?
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned again Iyaku on the Sombra. I don't think that's what Feur is going to come out here with, but if that is, and how good it looked, it was also kind of coordinated because, you know, he was trying to pressure out like DPS players, mostly trying to hunt down Spooky on that Tracer, get the hack there, and Super was there ready for the slam if need be. So there's already that level of communication and coordination that you can only get from being in an environment with E-daters who are very coordinated. You know, nothing gets you more coordinated than that level of just intimacy and love for your teammates that we see on the side of Feur. I'm going to pretend I did not hear that head Not going to repeat what was just said to me in my ear, but
I didn't enjoy it either. As somebody who has met Headrammer, not very comfortable right now. As we'll go into this next map here, we will see the ball mirror from both sides as Jiztaz is going to try and up Super here. As we'll see the Tracer versus the Sombra here, a Sombra Tracer versus a Feur Tracer. Otherwise, it's going to be the exact same except for the backlines.
Yeah, we got the ball mirror, a couple of clacker balls gonna go at it, but there's not gonna be a Sombra to hack out Super anytime soon, as that's already been deleted by Away, who is way up in the sky, plinking away at anything with a health bar, threatening to take it away, and it's G2D once again that is behind the 8-ball that might be next on the chopping block, but looks like he is able to get away, as actually swapped out, like you mentioned, onto that Brigitte there, so a little bit more peel from the Wrecking Ball, but Brigitte doesn't really do a whole lot against the Pharmacy.
No, I mean, that is going to be another struggle for G2D here, and we're going to see if Valhalla has the ability to zone out Away here, as the ball has been setting up and trying to set up a couple of dives, and neither team is coming away with a pick as Away gets a boop kill.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you get a boop kill onto a Tracer unless we're like... Does it actually do a teeny tiny little bit of damage? That's a great way to finish off a Tracer and assert your dominance, I guess. But Iyaku, the dominant Tracer in this regard, going to go ahead and clean up G2D. Going to help him take down Super. It's actually Away who comes out with those kills, but it is a lot of pressure coming from Hyaku. And Feur, they have an ult bank already built up, ready to go for the next fight here. And if you're EMC Valhalla, Well, you hope for more shots like that from Fox Liga, but what do you really do against this Pharmacy?
I mean, you have the EMP here. I think that you go with the same strat we saw that won him a couple fights on Havana, which is just EMP the Pharmacy and get those picks and clean up the rest.
It does look like that's what they're going to do, but yeah, they miss. Away is able to get that Rocket Barrage off outside the radius of that EMP, and no picks going to come for EMC Valhalla here. So that EMP, pretty limp in the grand scheme of things. And hey, G2D, I don't know if this is the fight you really want to be taking, my son. I think, you know, you might want to go back to where the peel actually is. We'll go ahead and send you there. There's plenty of it in the spawn, and that checkpoint is about to be capped there for Feur off the back of just a Rocket Barrage.
Absolutely. I mean, Away is just getting away with murder here as the Sombra just appears to not be the answer into this Feur comp, as Feur is just able to run over, put down a ton of pressure no matter where they're playing at, or even how well Valhalla's backline is positioned, and he's just not getting poked out enough. And now Feur has 4 ults available to keep pushing with, where Valhalla they just used the nano, and they're coming in with just Rally and Mines.
Yeah, and they can win with this little of an ultimate investment. They're going to go ahead and pop the Pulse Bomb, and there was already an early pickoff there from Marv Stunt finding a headshot. Rally going to come up from G2D, but is he going to live to tell about it? Are we going to get a whole lot of value? No, he's under so much pressure from this Tracer Wrecking Ball combo that even Jiztaz trying to come through with the peel is not enough, and the bodies on EMC Valhalla continue to fall left and right, and those that are still alive forced to fall back and try and think twice before they take an engagement here. Spooky maybe should have thought 3 or 4 more times, as Yaku gonna go ahead and you know, clear your head of all thoughts, go ahead and take you down there. Does fall the Fox Liga though, but the bodies continue to fall. Feur's still very much so in the driver's seat right now, and a potential Rocket Barrage in the spawn maybe. No, Away actually does get hacked, and finally they've clipped the wings of this Pharmacy. The res does come out though. They're not able to corpse guard effectively, and now Away still has that Rocket Barrage and is still in a prime position to let it rip, but all eyes are on him right now. Are they going to be able to go for that translocator? Doesn't pull the trigger on the EMP, and it does get punished. Away plus that Rocket Barrage takes down the backline. Kitsune Rush from Marvstunt comes out, and that is a team kill for Feur.
Absolutely, and I mean, if you are Valhalla, I think you might just be focusing a little bit too much on this Pharmacy. I know it is annoying, but I mean, if you're the Sombra, why not try and hack the Kariko and set up a slam right there? I mean, look for something different. Just put Feur on the back foot, as they've got Valhalla stuck in their spawn right now with ultimates coming up pretty soon. As Spooky does find the pick, and it is going to be res by Away's Mercy as well.
Yeah, but while Away's Mercy was going for that going for that res, their super gets picked off, as does Yaku, and EMC Valhalla might have just found their lifeline, but they have to get rid of this Pharmacy combo yet again before they can really get the bot going. I think someone is actually currently sneaking away with the bot, so this might end up just being kind of a stagger here as they try and take down this Pharmacy that might be overstaying their welcome just a little bit. And yeah, Spooky does get the pick off there onto Away again. They finally found an answer, and hey, it was, you know, the gold player's answer, which is just play hit scan, forehead.
Absolutely. Sometimes the simplest things in the world are the best answers. Is EMC Valhalla with KGF pushing the bot back. They're going to have a little bit of a head start here when they start to push it back to the middle, as Marvstunt once again catches G2D out. And it looks like Hiyaku, he finally gets punished right there.
That is a trade that is still going to favor Feur, and there's actually a Bastion swap coming out from Away, who is in a very threatening position right now. A mercy-pocketed Bastion is a sentence that should be illegal. If you utter that, the FBI should be searching for your location immediately, but Spooky already knows your location and is hot on the trail, takes down Away. Minefield gonna come out from Super, but I'm not sure who that's really zoning out and what that's really going to do. G2D does come back with that Valkyrie, keeps everybody alive to weather the storm, but the storm hasn't quite come yet. Marvstunt gonna go ahead and pop that Kitsune Rush, and a Deadeye from Spooky. It looks like Super tried to punish it. EMP and the self-destruct gonna come out from Jiztaz, but that only really serves to clear out the mines. They have to find a little bit more than that, and it's the backline that's looking pretty juicy right now, but Away's Mercy gets away with it, is able to live. There is enough heal there, and it's actually G2D on the other side that ends up falling. And Feur, they have won this fight despite a hefty investment from EMC Valhalla.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're EMC Valhalla, I think Feur just sent you straight back to Valhalla right there. They survived every single thing you threw at them, and then came back with really nothing, quite honestly. Ended up just surviving and getting a couple key shots and winning out the fight just with the mechanics alone. And now we'll get to see Away come up with the Bastion ult as he does a little 360 to set up his sticky bombs.
Yeah, and they're pushing the bot back over. They've already gotten it to the checkpoint here. I think Away is just trying to blink away and try and find where this Sombra is going to come at them here. But while that's all happening, Feur is pushing the cart. I think MC Valhalla are snaking it away again, but Away goes ahead and pops that Bastion ult and finds two. So that bot not going to go too far for EMC Valhalla. They're going to have to try and die on the cart here and prevent any more further progress, because again, once that bot gets back to the barricade, it's right up in their spawn.
Absolutely, as the pulse bomb comes out from Taz, and he gets a 2K net kill.
Okay. That might be enough to try and flip it back in their favor. A 2K squish with the D.Va mech. That's huge from Taz there. And Feur, yeah, there's not really much of a contest going on still. You got Marvstunt pushing the bot and not going to live for much longer. Yeah, it does finally get snuffed out there. Again, plays like that, though, again, feel very similar to that kind of like act of God kind of thing that won them Havana.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're Taz, you're clipping that and you're posting it on Twitter right now. I mean, it's just a play that ends up saving the map for them right there. Is it could still spiral out of control, but with plays like that, as the pulse bomb comes out and just barely whiffs on the Ana.
Yeah, and there's not enough follow-up to clean up Foxliga here, who is sitting on this nano boost. You want to make sure you keep that Ana alive. Don't let her die before she's able to pop that. KGF, I'm not sure if like a controller or a mouse disconnected there, but just kind of stands still and lets Marvstunt hit that kunai. You might have to call Isak on that one, but Spooky gonna go ahead and clap back with a pick off there onto Marvstunt. Rez is there, so that's negated, but Mercy has to try and fly away and find some place to hide because Spooky is looking with the dead eye, trying to find that pick off there, and Away able to fall while Away's Mercy was in another hemisphere. The slam and the Kitsune Rush gonna come out. Spooky and G2D have fallen, and Super may have just found enough to keep Feur alive in this fight, and now once again they're gonna get that bot headed back to that barricade.
Absolutely. On the side of EMC Valhalla, you have the EMP here, which is that fight-winning ultimate you're going to need if you're going to turn this map around right now. As, I mean, Feur's coming up on really just Pulse Bomb, and they might get Genji and Mayans mid-fight. So if you're Valhalla, you want to try and take this fight pretty quickly and cleanly with this EMP and set up an easy pick for your team to take advantage of.
But I think Feur know what's coming, and they're trying to play a little bit split. They played for that minefield and ended up popping it, but Super gonna get slept, but probably not gonna sweat that all that much as there's not enough presence, especially with the minefield to deter you from going in there. But a self-destruct is gonna clean up Away and force that res to come out early, and Super finally gets cleaned up. They lose G2D here, but that might again be enough for EMC Valhalla to hold strong here just a little bit longer, and Spooky is popping off, takes down the back line of Feur, and finally this bot is again gonna start turning around in favor of Feur as Away in favor of EMC Valhalla as Away dies. We're gonna start going into overtime here, though.
Absolutely. I mean, Taz and Spooky have turned it on for this OT push right here, as we saw Spooky come out with a couple of picks, and Taz as well with the D.Va bomb and just providing really good peel for his Ana there in that fight. And on the side of Feur, coming in with just the Dragon Blade, I mean, I think if you're Feur, you're happy trading that with an EMP or a High Noon or even a Nano.
But they find an early pick up onto G2D. Hyaku is the one who comes up with the gold here, and Super gonna wipe out Foxliga and KGF, and Marvstunt also cleaning up. Everyone from EMC Valhalla is falling left and right. They had the ult advantage, but weren't given the opportunity to use it because Feur snuffed them out, took the initiative, and took everyone, took no prisoners, and end up winning this one 3-1, and that one has an asterisk on it too.
I mean, if you're Valhalla, you're still going to take it. Either way, the one's there. You can't get rid of it. And I mean, at least at the end of this map right here, we did see some plays from people like Spooky and Taz. We see with that play of the game right there. So that one map with the asterisk gave them a little bit of life they probably could have used earlier in the series as well. But I mean, Feur was just dominant from start to finish as they won really just with this ball comp and taking advantage of the spaces they were able to control with the Tracer and the Genji out there, just marking targets and hunting them down as soon as Super rolls through or gets a slam on it.
Yeah, really just textbook play of this ball comp, and you know, the Pharmacy and the Genji Mercy and all of this investment into a way. We keep highlighting the E-Daters, but for good reason, because they're playing it. They're playing their whole comp in a way that they can get value out of that duo being the ones to pop off. And again, Iaku, you know, my personal player of the match, didn't even need the resources in order to pop off, in order to start, you know, finding the big pickoffs, in order to start finding these fight-winning kills. You know, again, we go back, G2D falling again at the hands of Iaku. Tale as old as time. We saw that like 100 times this fight. You know, and it's not always G2D's fault, because Iaku might just be that good that he's able to find those pickoffs that help, you know, elevate Feur to where they can get away with, you know, several murders. They are wanted in like 16 states at this point. Sorry, this is EU. They don't use states there. 16 countries in the European Union currently for several accounts of murder and manslaughter. And they can just do whatever they want with it. They have all the tools. And if you're a team like Experimental Ducks now, who are looking at this and you're seeing like, okay, even with like 4v5, they can put up this much of a fight against a team like EMC Valhalla, which was, you know, still pretty solid team overall. What do we do about it? You know, what's our plan next?
I mean, exactly like you said, is what do you do? I mean, Away was playing lights out with the pocket from Away's Mercy, but exactly like you said, Hyaku came through on that Tracer, the Sojourn, even the Ash a little bit, really whatever they needed from him on that hit scan roll, and he was excellent. I mean, there were a couple times where we skipped to his POV and he is not missing a single shot on their ball that's trying to get out, or he's hitting the Lucio when he's 5 miles away and hitting a couple of headshots. And so I think it is really impressive just how good of a performance Hyaku was able to put together, and really just Feur as a whole being able to put in resources into their DPS line and super setting them up almost perfectly every single time. The coordination was just on a next level, and it was just something Valhalla could not compete with.
Yeah, and again, you know, Valhalla, they're still able to compete because they are going to go down to the losers bracket here. And again, Meta Gaming, another one of those powerhouses that we didn't expect to be down there. They can pull their glass bottle back out because now EMC Valhalla are looking ripe for the shanking down there, as they are going to try and make their run at the expense of EMC Valhalla. So if you're EMC Valhalla, you have to come correct from here on out, because your safety net just burned up in a blaze. Hotter than the sun right now. Yeah, they just whiffed that right up, out from under you. No more do-overs. If you want to end up winning playoffs and maybe revisit Feur in the grand finals here, you got to start coming correct here. Identify what went wrong. I will, put a little asterisk towards them as well. Spooky was a sub for them, not necessarily their starter player. They weren't able to get their core DPS roster, so that might be something that they need to iron out. Spooky did step up, by the way. There was some big plays coming out from Spooky, but, without that coordination and without having, like, your starter, your core 5 there, it's really, really hard to go up against something that people might even consider cheese, where you have to try and focus on a Pharmacy Wrecking Ball combo. Like, that takes coordination to take down. That takes everyone stepping up, doing their job, and working together, and that wasn't necessarily firing on all cylinders. So, get your star players there on the horn there. Give Spooky a gold medal for the day, but come correct, because you're out of chances here.
Absolutely. And I mean, even so, I think they put up a pretty decent performance there on Esperanza towards the end, especially coming back from a spawn hold like that. I think if you're Valhalla, you have a couple positives to take away from this match, and it's that you did put up a fight even with your sub Spooky in, and your sub actually looks pretty good, and just has on that diva and even on the ball a little bit there looked fantastic as well. And so moving forward, when you go into that losers brackets and you face Meta Gaming, you're still going to be a little bit confident in it, especially if you have your full roster there and you kind of rotate your DPS as you want to, or your tanks and your supports and everything else.
We'll be sure to keep you guys updated on all of that action going forward. No doubt you'll be seeing some more of these two squads going forward. I think we also have some NA action going on a little bit later tonight here. I think 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Actually, 2 games, on CGL 1 and CGL 2. So plenty more Overwatch to come for today, but for us right now, that's going to be it. That's been me, CB, joined by Coolies. It's been a pleasure casting with you today. Pleasure bringing this action to you guys. That's gonna be it. I'll see you guys all later. Probably gonna tuck in, watch a little Pro Am, and then see you guys back here at 8:30 Eastern for a little bit more CGL action. Bye bye.
Absolutely, you'll see me there too. I'll be playing. So. See ya.